Welcome to Infocard's podcast, sponsored by Vision One Golf. Hit it straighter, hit it farther. Putt like a maniac. VisionOneGolf.com. Now on with our show. Today's podcast is already underway. Will Stape and I are talking and discussing how we're going to be using Blog Talk Radio as a tool for my clients, and he will be the interviewer. So let's tune in and hear what he has to say.
Interview you like you. You interview really, really well. That's why I think it's important. We try to get you and the clients together to interview, you know?
Yeah, and I think, right. I think what happens too, like, you're such an expert in so many fields, and a lot of times when, and I'm not, meaning like when you get a novice, but I'm very curious about things. And I think that makes a good interviewer for the interviewee to say, like, what are you all about, or what are you doing, and what is your thing? Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing I like about you, Will, too, is, I'll throw you out a client, like Jiffy Wagon, for example, and you come back with, wow, that is really, why didn't we think of that, but you understand it when you see it. You're there right off of New York City. You understand these things when you see them. And a service industry like that is wild.
Again, around here, right, I call it New York City. I'm so close to New York City. I can see the skyline out of my kitchen window. And we have great public transportation, but if you don't have a car, and, many friends, and, I don't have a car at many times in my life. And if I needed to get some kind of big ticket item, a heavy thing, I would have to arrange with friends. And it would be kind of difficult. So something like Jiffy Wagon is, excellent.
Yeah, and costly. And Jiffy Wagon is just, I met John, the owner, executive guy, manager of the whole thing, the CEO. He's incredible. Yeah. And he just laid the whole thing out in front of me, and I go, oh, my God. Do you know how many times I've needed this, the last 3 years of living out in the desert, for example? Yeah. It's a no-brainer, but when you, buy a new refrigerator, a lot of stores will deliver it. They're not going to install it. And a lot. Right. Matter of fact, I'm so far out, the big box stores don't deliver out here. They won't do it.
Exactly. Why would they do it when, even though you might be a good customer, but if you buy one big screen TV, right, it's not like you're a company that's going to buy, dozens or hundreds. Yeah, so it's not worth it for them, I guess. I know. Yeah. But Jiffy Wagon to the rescue. Jiffy Wagon to the rescue.
Home Depot and Indio will not deliver out here.
Wow.
They won't do it.
Incredible.
And I bought a refrigerator 3 years ago, and I had to have my brother come with his little truck, and they did help us get it into the truck, but, there you go. You're off home.
Amazing.
And my brother moves the stuff around anyway, but Jiffy Wagon would have been the perfect one because they would pick up, they would deliver, and they install. How many people install?
It's incredible, Peter. There's a company that does, they do storage. What is it called again? Something Pod. It's an Australian guy.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We can't remember the name, but it's a great company. They bring this big pod, this box, and you just put all your stuff in and they cart it away. That's another great idea. I just love that innovation. That creativity. It's just it's good. Well, you know what? It's great for these startups. And what I love too, Peter, is touching on Blog Talk again. There's many podcast different organizations, but Blog Talk Radio, what they do is it's such like a democracy, that democratization of things. There's a show, I think it's one of the highest rated shows. It's called That Stupid Cancer Show. And basically the host has cancer, and a young guy, and he's dealing with one of life's biggest blows. And come on, Peter, there's no way anyone could tell me that if he went to, Sirius or Clear Channel, they're going to give him a show about cancer, right? To talk about cancer, probably. No, but he went to Blog Talk. Mm-hmm. He did his show, and it's getting great ratings. Yeah, so it's anyone who wants to get the word out about whatever they want to do, whatever they want to say. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I'm liking that.
Yeah. Pure democracy, pure democratization. I love it.
I'm liking it so much, I'm going to think about maybe hiring you to let's have a show over on BTR.
I was going to say, it's been a while, and for the audience out there, for everyone listening, we did the Peter Brusso show, and it was basically your life and your wisdom, and which is quite extensive, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, I'll be humble there and keep my lips.
Hey, look, again, the idea of having the show, or rather having an idea for a show, is one thing. Being able to do the show is another, and then being able to do it with people that actually hold people's interest, that all those variables are kind of hard to just, what do they say, lightning in a bottle to kind of concoct. You could do one or two.
One of the other things one of the other things I liked about the whole idea is if Jiffy Wagon got their own show, they could actually have the clients, on the show.
Yeah. Right.
Or even prospective clients come on the show. I know I've used podcasting that way, that I know this person needs to have podcasting, and so I'll invite them on the show, talk about theirs, and they show up to all their company because they're like miniature rock stars now, and lo and behold, they understand the power of podcasting. But I think with the radio show and the podcast show, they're coming to their own in a very unique way, and a lot of people don't understand it. I think you can, one, drive traffic to your site. Okay, that's people coming, right, listening and coming. But you can also drive backlinks, because people will backlink to your site that they've heard this podcast. Please listen to this podcast. It's really important. And so you kill two birds with one stone with a podcast or a radio show that you don't normally get if you were to do article marketing. That's a single link. Wherever you put that article, single link coming back. And some viral component, no doubt about article marketing is viral-worthy, available for people. But podcasts you can stick in your car when you're traveling, exercising.
Absolutely.
And I've actually talked about what's the correct length for podcasts, and it depends on who you're targeting.
Absolutely. And from my own experience, doing articles for, a good 5 or 6 years or more now, going on, I think 7 years, exclusive sort of, I did a lot of magazine and newspaper articles, like sort of back in the day. But the bottom line, Peter, is when I started doing blog talk, I'm like, well, anybody can talk. Like we're saying, you have to hold an audience, maybe you have to talk with confidence, passion, maybe, or authoritative on something you love, but anyone can talk, and most people can put a couple words together. So you don't have to be a writer. Unlike blogs, people have to write. Here, you can just talk about what you love, what you want to do.
Yeah, I think the other thing about a moderator like yourself is you keep stimulating the conversation. Like if I have to do a monologue's a lot tougher.
Yeah, really. We've all done shows on our own. Like I did a blog talk radio for a while on my own. It was tough. Exactly. And I can yap. I can talk.
Yeah. But but it's tough. It's tough. And so I think when you have this more interesting format where you listen to what I'm saying and then you bounce a question off that and it gets infectious, so we can continue on. I guess the hardest part is staying on top of it.
Yeah, with us sometimes they're right.
Even the best people that are not that mouthy end up answering good questions if you have a good moderator.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing, right? The flow of conversation, the flow of information. Yeah. You got to keep it going. But like you said, when you bring an idea or a business, like say, what is the Jiffy Wagon or Pack Rat or whatever, they're such creative places. You want to know more. You want to know everything about it. I do anyway. Yeah. So
now, what also was cool, and really people don't see it right off the bat. Say a company like Jiffy Wagon has 10 podcasts, right? And say it wants to influence a particular senior citizens center or something, right? So they do a podcast on why seniors would want to use Jiffy Wagon, and they actually send that podcast or a link to it to the director of these various senior groups. Spread the word for them to listen to, right? So you can literally put them out there, or, as we said earlier, invite that person on your show.
Absolutely.
Talk about Talk about the unique things that they're. We were starting the same thing, the computer store that I'm helping. We're going to be going in and giving weekly lectures to them, hands-on lectures of how to use your computer better.
As a tech, sort of a home tech,
not to get viruses and a bunch of, and how do you know when you have a virus, and all those cool things that they really don't have anybody in there teaching them that, and they're the largest group coming on the web right now.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. But anyway, podcasts are those things you can send around. I just did it here last week. I have a potential client, and she's had lots of questions. And every week we get more questions and more questions, never closer to I'm going to send you some cash. So I actually sent her a podcast to listen to about what's important about websites. One of our more popular podcasts for the things you need to know about your website.
Right.
Which also, by the way, is another interesting term. If you look at the stats of your podcast, it gives you an indication of what people want to hear. The more popular the podcast, maybe that's an area you want to do some more podcasting if it's professional traffic.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like you said, once you target that potential audience, then they can take it from there and see what they want to.
You can also put them up on your offsite blogs. We always suggest you have offsite blogs. Usually you want to go with blogger.com or blogspot.com, and because it's a Google property, so Google automatically looks for new material in their own blogs first. Matter of fact, I always joke about before you even finish pushing down the enter button to put a blog post up, Google's already searched it for the keywords and is already eating up your data.
Wow.
And, and it's so powerful. But you can put your podcasts up there. You can stream video from YouTube in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can upload directly to blogger.com now.
Wow.
So you can actually continue to spread your podcasts around, even yet a different media channel. And the more of those you have, and they're cross-linking back to your sites, and you got to like it. That's the ins and outs of podcasting, I think.
Yeah.
And why it should be part of your marketing mix.
Yeah, and like we're saying, it's there are lots of places to go to, but I think in terms of prices and platforms, Blog Talk really does have a lot of lots to offer. Talk Shoe, there's a couple, but I like Blog. Yeah,
I haven't looked at Talk Shoe in a little while, but the other thing I failed to say is a lot of these places automatically syndicate your material out to Twitter and also to Facebook.
Yeah, there you go.
If your business ought to have a fan page, a business fan page, you can post podcasts up to.
Right. Yeah.
And Twitter links ought to go out to those podcasts as well, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, even if they're smart enough to be using Aweber to gather emails and requests for quotes and requests for information, newsletters, it's an opt-in email service, Aweber is.
Right.
I didn't realize the power of Aweber until I started to use it about 6 years ago. But boy, it is a humongously powerful tool to communicate with people who opt into your followers, so to speak. I have a free newsletter and offers out on the Defender site, pdws.biz, and I have a modest list, about right around 500 people. Not big. That's very, very low in email marketing, mind you, but they're highly focused, and it's a very small niche market, but they all opt in. I just sent them out this deal. I just bundled a big deal and on offer and sent it out to them only. They're the first ones. You treat them like gold. Nobody else gets to have that offer, but they do. And same thing with any business. You want to be able to put out stuff newsletters and briefs and things like that to help them. It isn't always a sales thing. It's about information. You got to give stuff away a little bit. Give some free information away.
Right.
To build up that client.
Right. Like I guess you're trying to say that it's not always about the greatest sale of the new widget. It's about reminding people that they're there and they're there for them, that they're around. Yeah.
Like I'm working on Halloween safety. You're going to go out with your kids. What are you going to be concerned about? And how do you move safely at nighttime with your kids and all that kind of good stuff? What might you take out with you to help protect yourself if something terrible were to happen? And what's the legalities? I mean, if you take out pepper spray or something and you spray kids that are underage, you got a problem. But on the flip side, those kids know it, and they're the ones the biggest threat. So there's different strategies possibly to do that.
Right, and that's a seasonal thing. But obviously, people are always concerned about their kids' safety. But with Halloween, you gotta
Well, of course. When we were kids, my parents didn't know where I was. I'd just send me out. It was a different world than we lived in.
Really, even us, like we would run out for Halloween. We'd come back, maybe 10, 11. That not that late. But nobody. You didn't talk about people snacking.
They didn't know where you were. They didn't know where to start looking. And usually you and your little buddies all went out together, and most of the kids you run into, you knew in some fashion or the other,
And now I guess it's more house parties. I mean, they still trick or treat, but it's more kind of closed in.
I was just going to mention one of the best ways of punking on a night like that is a house Halloween party.
Sure.
And you can still trick or treat out the front, and all the kids that are in the Halloween house they can have fun looking at the other kids, and yet there's plenty to go around. Yeah. And everybody's safe.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, in ways, it's almost right. It focuses it, because a lot of times, like when I was a kid, we would run around, we'd see other kids' costumes. We weren't around them as much. Yeah, with a house party, you got maybe 10, 15, 20 kids, and you can all look at your costume, your Thor and your Hulk, whatever. Yeah, it's cool.
Play games, scare games, trivia games, get more candy that way. You know, a bunch of things you can do. We're going off topic again here, but
we are. But like you said, with the keywords, if we were looking for this, we'd put what house party, Halloween.
Yeah, costume, Halloween, house party, maybe. You know, we would be looking at stuff like that as for keywords to put stuff out. But basically, you know, going back to this list that you bang away at, and I know some people that live off their list.
Wow.
When they need more money, they put out another product on their list, and people buy it. And because it's so highly focused, you know, like there's dog training, for example, if there was a particular way of dog training, and you had certain types of things you would sell or use or book, or you write an ebook, and you know, people that's a hobby, they're going to buy it, and they don't mind. I don't mind getting marketed from groups that I'm interested in. I was telling you about these iCam glasses that I got, you know. And now they're not smart enough to use AWeber, unfortunately, because I would be buying more stuff from them whenever they came out with, you know. And I don't think they talk about editing. They could be selling a little how to edit video, and you know, here are the packages that you can go buy, and here's what you got to do.
Yeah, I went to their site, and I was struck. I mean, it's not a bad site, but I was expecting a little bit more complexity, and kind of utilitarian sort of about. Yeah, it's an all right site, but yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, they and I talked to them, and I actually have their guy to talk to. But you know, there's so much more they could do with that for their product. But you know, that's another case. Now, this, okay? So this is another idea. But do you remember the two guys that used to do a film review?
With Siskel and Ebert? Yeah.
Yeah. So what if we pick a website, and I record the website from a video standpoint, because I can do that, and we record here, and we analyze their site for them, make a video, and send it to them.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Instead of a film review, it's a website review. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, if they have a current webmaster who can work on it, if they have questions, they can hire us, we'll work on it. But I bet here's another great use for podcasting that I don't think anybody's using it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't really either. I don't. Yeah, I guess it would be more like ratings or like Facebook or I don't. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you might do. That's an interesting part. You know, we might start a fan page and put our stuff up there. Now, of course, they may get upset. You know, we send it privately to them.
Yeah.
We don't want to embarrass anybody.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, we can certainly have a ratings page and like a report card.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And try to do something helpful like that. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, again, because like we were saying, it's one thing a quick, what do they have, that Angie's List, you know, these critiques on business, but that's text, that's fine. But when we're, you know, as we're doing now, and you know, in a podcast forum, you have more of an organic, you know, give and take, and you know, a real time review, a real time critique, and you can hear a person's voice, right? You can hear how we're actually really feeling about this much more so.
Right, and of course, you know, with both of us on the site, and I'm recording the site, we can move around that site, and you know, basically try to be helpful for people. I mean, me more on the technical side, you more on the social media side. What might they do?
Yeah, sure.
You know, how do you get more of a flurry of social activity around their site? Because social media is very important these days, or can be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think literally every Fortune 500, of course, every big company and small have some social media footprint. And sure. Can't ignore it.
Yeah, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you know, there's a bunch of those different ones like that. And but we ought to look at that. But that's another interesting use of a podcast that I hadn't thought of until just this morning.
I'm literally, Peter. I mean, sometimes I pay attention. What I'm saying is, I get so much like Pepsi or M&M. You know, you get little emails and it says like us on Facebook, and the only way you can get like their coupon, I think, or whatever, you have to go on Facebook. So so you got that whole thing where if you don't go on, say, Facebook or Twitter or something, you're going to kind of, you know, miss out on that little offer. And so it's essential today for everybody, I guess, consumer and company. Yeah.
That could be really really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I'm actually going over their site.
Yeah, you're going to go over now and take a look, yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to beat them up by any means,
Mm-hmm.
but it turns out, obviously they're linked to another site, because you end up on revolutionaryoutdoorproducts.com.
Okay.
They finally have some samples here, some video, at least one.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of supplementing it.
They have a visitor count down below. You never put your number of visitors on a site. That's a
wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Really, really very basic website. But I think you could have. There's just one sample of ICAM video here.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking big enough from a training standpoint, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We ought to redo this and take a look at it. Also, I think the font size is really small. Most people are having to wear glasses these days,
Right, or they can obviously with Chrome, with any good browser, you can bump it down or enlarge it, right? So yeah, so to have that simple or that baseline font, I think is important. Sure. Yeah.
They do have a subscribe button here, which is good because they do have an RSS feed. It's at the very bottom, which is crazy, and there's not one at the top. There's no testimonials.
Right. Well, what's interesting to me too, when I went to Amazon, there's a bunch of testimonials, right? And then when I went to their actual web page, there was like none, right? So I said, well, if you go to Amazon, you're going to get referrals or critiques. You go to the actual website, you don't. So yeah.
And that's somebody not paying attention to how to digitally
exactly.
market.
That's kind of crazy. Right. If I was their like social media guy or marketing guy, I would even lift or link to Amazon. The positive ones, whatever. Maybe take some of that or do something. Yeah. It's so barren. So.
But they do some good things here. They got a nice picture of a kid and the dad wearing the dad.
There you go.
glasses.
Something. Yeah.
Also, that's first surprising to some.
It's really.
Go ahead. The glasses that they have in the upper left-hand corner are actually pointing your eye off the page. They're not even applying the right types of strategies that you would for a flyer, for example, where you have to have an action graphic that leads you into the headline. And they really don't have any headlines. They only have how much it costs.
Well,
they're trying to sell you without even telling you what it is.
Well, yeah.
People buy for emotion, but by logic. You should be asking for $99.99 right off the bat. That's the first thing you read. You go, geez.
Yeah, like we were saying, when you kind of introduced me to them, I guess I had heard about them, but then you actually sent me the link or you told me the name, and I was looking them up, and I said, what a great idea, to do anything from a baseball game or to unobtrusive, maybe you're in a lecture or whatever, and you don't want, to bring out that camcorder bulky, and yet on the page they don't really show that. You kind of have to guess that. You have to go on Amazon, and I'm like, well, There's a real disconnect there. Yeah. I mean, it's a great product, but I don't,
I think it's a great product. The other thing, I'm going to use it for the computer store, because we're going to start an online university where you can actually learn how to repair your computer for a small fee. And putting the glasses right on the tech is getting his hands right in the computer. There isn't a better camera, I think, that's around.
Oh, yeah, like for tutorial and show everything. That's great. Sure. Exactly. Excellent.
Yeah, and that opens them up to a whole host of using these types of glasses in addition to high-end cameras.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is a first-person look at things, and sometimes that's extremely valuable. And before I forget, I uploaded my stuff over to YouTube, and YouTube said, hey, it looks a little shaky. Do you want us to fix it? And I said, sure. Boy, they screwed it up.
Really? Like a stabilizing algorithm or something? Yeah.
Exactly.
They don't work, Peter. I tried. I don't think they work well. Yeah,
but one thing that I was shocked about, they asked me, they can actually blur faces in a video. So if you take video, they can automatically blur faces.
Right. So they probably run it through a facial recognition thing, right? And then that's incredible. Yeah. But
that's an interesting side note that I ran into yesterday that they can.
Right, but unless you have video editing, then it's like thousands of dollars. But I've tried some video stabilization. Yeah, a lot of times it doesn't work. Yeah, it depends. It just screws it up. Yeah.
But I think this whole idea of wearing these glasses, and I'm very particular about not having anybody in the picture with me. My martial arts guys are one thing, but anybody else, you have to get all these.
Right, like a passerby or like a bystander witness. Yeah, you don't want to. Right.
Exactly. Sure. Also, if you want to wear these glasses, I want to wear these glasses and drive down to coffee and go into the coffee shop and talk. And, I don't want anybody's face really known, but you want to hear what they have to say. It's a perfect.
Yeah, and like I said, I made you laugh. I think the other day I was in a store and I have like a little HD camera and I was trying to get some little Halloween props, for my niece and nephew maybe. And this woman behind me was like, "Oh, why is she taking video?" It's like if I had one of these iCams, she wouldn't have known. So when you have that unobtrusive, need to, shoot a little video and you don't want everyone to broadcast to the world, it's nice. It would be nice. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's a good tool, and I think for video podcasting, it's another option that's low cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As stupid as it sounds, you may want to put them on and sit in front of the mirror and talk.
I was going to say, or have one guy kind of, be the cameraman with the camera glasses, and he kind of scans back and forth, right, between two people. It's painless. There's 1,001 options for that. Again, Peter, you found another product, Jiffy Wagon iCam, that I'm like a evangelical preacher, because it's just so creative. There's something about it that really speaks to me. Yeah, really good.
So actually, I ordered another pair. I want John from Jiffy Wagon to take them out for a day and bring them back.
Okay, cool.
And so he videotapes himself driving down the road, doing a pickup, a real pickup, because I could blur those guys' faces out, right? But it gives you a live look at what he does.
Exactly. And you can edit it all up. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Yeah.
That's it. How powerful a tool could that be?
Yeah.
And I've got another guy website. He's an appraisal guy, appraiser for transportation goods, cargoes, damaged cargoes, trucks that get damaged. I mean, what a great tool he could use that as he does the appraisal. And then we could put that up. Obviously we don't want to show all his cool stuff, but selectively put that up, and or even provide that to his customer over just a sheet of paper, or in addition to his papers, right? Wow, what a tool!
Yeah, like a real estate agent wants to get a property more, in like first person. There's so many ways you could use it. Just incredible.
Inexpensive.
Yeah, $100. $99. Yeah,
$100. Gives you about an hour and a half so far that I've found of video and audio.
Really, and if you're going to need much more than that, then you're probably going to need a real professional camera. Yeah, that's plenty of room. Sure.
Yeah, but I meant for if you're going to go like real estate, you're going to do a walkthrough of a house. That's
exactly.
You could have 6 or 7 or 8 of you, a whole day's worth on the camera. And then just download it, clean it off, and ready for the next.
Exactly, and I think even some of the models have with an SD card, like a little card, so you can pop it back. There you go.
Right. You can get a card on the side. I just use USB. I just plug it in and it looks like.
But there's a couple models, right? I think the base model, there's a couple more deluxe, whatever. But it's just awesome. Yeah, it's a great product.
Right, and they've got polarizing lenses. They've got the carriers. They've got a bunch of other products. A car charger. So these are.
All I know is that Dick Tracy and James Bond is jealous. They're jealous.
I bet. I bet. And it's finally here. So these could be a good little push. I'm actually trying to get to be an affiliate marketer for these guys.
Truly, though. Right, Peter, when you think of that the whole thing in 60 Minutes about James Bond yesterday, and all this tech we have now, right, we only saw in the movies. We saw Star Trek, James Bond, Dick Tracy. Now it's at our fingertips. We're using it all the time. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, you and I always talked about Isaac Asimov, and he invented satellites and books before they were ever real. And all of these sci-fi guys invent stuff that all of us other engineers says, "Oh, that's a cool idea. Let's try to do that."
I'm telling you, they did. Discovery or H2 ran how William Shatner in Star Trek changed the world, about the communicators and even the opening doors. Like back then, they said supermarkets really in the 60s. That was more in the 70s. They had the automatic doors, and they kind of got the idea in a way, I think, from Star Trek. It's amazing. Just so many things.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff like that, which is a really cool thing. But again, back to products and clients like this, there's so much they could do. We ought to be doing these website reviews just for fun.
Yeah, I like the idea of, like you said, almost kind of like a Siskel and Ebert sort of a critique, a friendly critique, which you could be maybe doing a little better or different. Neat.
Yeah, and they can take that away as a recipe to fix stuff if they want to, or they can hire us to fix it if they want to. But, if they have a webmaster, we're certainly going to give them good stuff, and they want to consult with us. And this is certainly a way to generate some potential cash flow, help people do better, not costing an arm and a leg.
Absolutely right. And again, that's what's the beauty of the blog talks and these outlets, that you can get on there, get your word across, try to sell your product, and you have all these options. And years ago, I was talking to a friend. Excuse me. He said, "Oh, it's sort of like infomercials." I said, imagine what an infomercial company would charge a company like Jiffy Wagon. I don't even know, but I'm sure it would be a lot more than what this person would be doing on sort of Blog Talk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and in an infomercial, you're being sold, so you're already on the defense.
Exactly.
A podcast, you're not trying to sell people, you're trying to educate people and help people. And I think there's a huge difference between those two industries.
Definitely. I think there's, like we said before, there's sort of a snake oil salesman, or certainly like a synthetic sort of vibe to a lot of infomercials. Yeah, you're not sure that you can believe that person at times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So, the other thing, did I ever send you that PDF that I have on how to make a good flyer?
I don't think so, but you can send it again. Sure, certainly. Yeah.
I'll do that. Yeah. I'll send it when we get off here. It's a good thing to know, basically. And a lot of times, if we're going to do website critiques like this, I'm actually after you to do a social media standpoint, but. There's a lot to be said for this particular document and how it translates over into good website design. Right. And it's very interesting because there's not that much difference between a good flyer, marketing-wise, and a good website.
Right, so you're saying that basic layout can kind of guide and instruct you for a good web page. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, at least you'll understand, what is an action graphic, Matter of fact, I think I'm going to be...
Yeah, Peter, you know what's really exciting? I just have a bare bones basic Android tablet, but obviously iPad, Samsung, whatever, flavor Kindle that you use now, right? The idea, I think, like websites, it's kind of going back, right? Like, meaning, like, the iPad and these tablets are making the display look almost just like an old magazine and a brochure, right? It's incredible, yeah. But with all the new, hypertexting capabilities and all, yeah. So that basic look is not really going to be that much different, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm going to I'll send you a couple of these PDFs. I have an overall strategy PDF, how you tie in social media and all this other stuff, just for fun. Take a look at it. It's good stuff. Stuff I send out, of course, to clients, how the web works, how it's all tied together.
Right. So I think, like you were saying, it's not like you reinvent the wheel, right? You have to have clear, good fonts, a good, good text, good pictures. Yeah, it's like the old magazines and newspapers, but it's in digital form, really. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, so I'm pointing off a bunch of this stuff. But, it's important for people to understand action graphics, what that is, what a headline is, what a successful headline is, the use of the U, an applied U in a headline. Really
like, what can we do for you? What can you...
Yeah, exactly, or what you're going to get.
Right, what you're going to get, what you... Yeah, no, it's true.
That's right. That's sometimes... more important than anything.
Like even in article writing, a lot of times you'll do a conversational tone and style, like did you know, and by the way, or are you aware, and whatever. Yeah. You kind of you're speaking to that person. You're not talking down to them or lecturing. You're just speaking to them as we're talking now, kind of conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I mean, so many people, when I start talking about how to make a brochure that works or a flyer that works, people don't know the difference between features or benefits. And people buy for benefits. That's what they buy for. They don't buy for features. So the car is red, that's a feature. The car has 4 tires, that's a feature. Car goes really fast. Could be a benefit, certainly a feature. This car is fun to drive. It's your dream car. That's a benefit. Yeah. This car adjusts to you and makes you feel comfortable no matter who drives it. That's a benefit. This car stops blind spots so you never run into anything. That's a benefit.
And now they even do the parallel parking. They're doing everything. Or like the Google car. Now they're driving themselves, right? It's crazy. It's like everything.
Yeah. I wanted one of those cars. Remember?
Right.
You probably never went to Disneyland out here, but we had the Utopia car.
Well, I was going to say, what did they say, Peter? Everyone thought you were going to have a jetpack or like be the Jetsons. Well, now everyone's going to have a chauffeur. Yeah. You're going to have your little Rosie.
All tied to the internet. So crazy stuff coming down down the line.
Yeah, like even I mean, it's a smaller example, or certainly not as sophisticated, but even the light rail in Hudson County, Bayonne, New Jersey, where I'm from, it's all computers. I mean, there's always a driver, but they pretty much just sit there. It's amazing. It stops, it opens. So yeah, so I've seen that in action in terms of that, and that it works fine. It works very well. So,
yeah. So again, one more time, looking out for our clients, trying to get things squared away for them and help them with all of the marketing materials, whether it's brick and mortar or brochures or handbills or their presence on the web and social media.
And seriously consider Blog Talk Radio, Talk Show. I mean, I'm a bit partial to Blog Talk. Again, no affiliation other than I like it. I think it's a great service, Blog Talk Radio. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think they are too. So.
Again, when you...
Okay, well, let's wrap this up, Tom. If anybody wants any news, I'll have a link over on Infocard. Well, what should be called that link? A radio show, the greatness of that's too long.
I guess you could say maybe Infocard podcast, or maybe.
I'll work out something, because it's certainly in that what podcast can do for you or something.
There you go.
I don't know. We'll do something, but I'll have that up, and I just sent you some reading material. If you get into that, we can start to look at sites and maybe try a little video run on Siskert and Ebert or whatever it is, and it's a Stape and Brusso.
There you go.
Or the Brusso and Stape. Stape and
Brusso. Any chance that I get to critique anything, I love that. It's fun.
How do you like that? Staple them and bruise them.
There you go, boy. I don't know what audience would get. They think we're wrestlers.
There you go. But, all right. Well, thanks, Will, for having me on again. I look forward to talking to you more on our podcast.
It's always fun, Peter. Take care. Take care, everybody.